Welcome to Stroke Forward. My name is Marcia Moran. For the next 40 minutes or so, we are going to talk about things that stroke survivors, or any brain injury survivor, deals with. If you look at me today, you probably don't see a person who had a stroke, but I feel it. My body functions differently. Do I think I will get back to 100%? Yes, because to think differently is to admit defeat. We will talk to all sorts of people who have been there, from survivors to caretakers to doctors, nurses, therapists, friends, and family who have seen us at our weakest. They have cheered us with their victories, no matter how large or how small. How did we get here? That's what this show is going to tell you. So I'm delighted to introduce Moe Jones today. How are you doing, Moe?
I'm doing very well. Just got home from Thanksgiving. Is it okay if I talk about
Of
timing?
course.
All right. Just got back from a trip to Boston to visit my family. That's where I'm from. I currently live in Raleigh, but I have a big extended family, and it was a wonderful visit. So thank you for asking. I'm doing
Yep.
well.
Yep. That's awesome. We first met a couple weeks ago, and it was interesting because you had a unique perspective on what it takes to get through a stroke. So, first of all, tell me about the stroke, and then we'll talk about what you decided to be so interesting.
Oh, thank you. So my stroke was a little over 5 years ago in August of 2017. I had an ischemic stroke. My right internal carotid artery is blocked. It's 100% blocked. And so I had a stroke, pretty severe stroke that affected my entire left side. Um,
Hmm.
I've gotten a lot of mobility back. I'm walking, traveling. I did the typical physical therapy, PTOT, on a inpatient basis for 3 months, close to 3 months at Wake Med Hospital here in Raleigh, and then went to outpatient therapy where I really learned how to walk and move around again. So I'm living my life now. I travel a lot with my family. I am married with three daughters. They range in age from 26 to 17. And we travel quite a bit as a family, but enjoying my life and living my life, living my best life that I can now.
Okay. So, let's talk about your family and how they reacted when you had your stroke.
Okay.
Um, so, what was their first reaction?
Well, I was initially, it's kind of a complicated story on the stroke. I had a stroke. It's called the stroke in progression, which actually it lasted over a series of like 5 to 6 days. So I
Wow.
was hospitalized first. We were at the beach and it happened. My husband was there, thank goodness. I just basically got weak in the knees, fell to the ground, and then went to a hospital. They discovered the stroke, but they ended up discharging me to come back to Raleigh because that's where my hospital and my doctors were. Kind of a long story, Masha. I'm sorry, but
That's okay.
then then was completely fine, no deficits, nothing, no physical anything. But I did know about the blocked carotid artery. 2 nights later, I wake up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, and sure enough, fell. I couldn't get to the bathroom. My husband, thank goodness, was awake and home. He travels quite a bit for his job, but anyway, got me to the hospital. So he was my main support. We had to leave my 17-year-old daughter at home to get to school, but we go. And my oldest daughter at the time is in college, so she got a phone call, but the girls eventually knew what happened to mom, and but my husband was my main support. And this is kind of a funny story, Marsha, if I can digress, because I do love to bring some humor to everything. Again, I did not lose consciousness, memory, nothing, and I did not have aphasia, although I did have some, slurred speech initially. But after spending at least a couple nights in ICU, at one point my husband walked in and I said to him, "Can you effing believe I had a stroke?" So I swore, and he said, I knew things were going to be okay because you swore. I kind of have a little bit of a foul mouth sometimes. So that was my signal to him that, you know what, we're going to get through this. This is okay. We'll take it in stride, but it'll be okay.
Yeah. So when we met was actually the, I'm going to say, premiere of Happy Hour.
Yes.
And that's the reason I thought it would be interesting to talk to you, because it inspired me. And it's
Mm.
inspiring to, I think, everyone, how you take, like you said, sometimes it hurts,
Mm.
but you don't let that get you down. I'm sorry. So
Mm.
talk about your perspective.
Well, this is not a journey I would wish on anybody. And I'm
No.
not at the point in my life. There are some people that would say, "Oh, the stroke was the best thing that ever happened." And I don't know if I'll ever say that. I mean, it certainly has brought certain things to light. You know, it filters out some stuff, which we can talk about later. But for now, I met some incredible people,
Mm-hmm.
particularly in my outpatient group. We're all from kind of similar age, or the people that I've gravitated to, similar age, similar type of stroke. And
Mm-hmm.
so we spend some time together outside of, you know, therapy. Now that we're on to different things, we're further out. But one of the things that I've enjoyed was laughing with them. And we share stories, similar, just silly things that happen. I mean, I love humor. I love humorous movies. I grew up with a family that loved humor as well. And so for me, I've always laughed at some of the irreverent stuff. And I have to say, I'm married to a very sarcastic man who keeps me laughing and doesn't get me, you know, doesn't take me too seriously, nor he encourages me not to take myself so seriously. So poking fun is something that I've always done my whole life. And for me, I laugh at some of the silly things. I mean, it's kind of physical comedy at times. I've fallen a lot, but in sharing some of the similarities with other people, we laughed. It was simpatico, you know. They understand what I'm going through, and we can laugh because it's funny. Some of the stuff is really, really funny. Um, I've used the analogy, if you had a camera on some of the things that transpire, people would laugh. So why not share that and illuminate that with other people? And we all have different stories. So stroke survivors, or I call thrivers, the ones that can poke fun at themselves and laugh, you know. I mean, there's strength, there's power in that, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of where it
So,
started from.
so what made you decide that Happy Hour was a way to bring this to light?
Our outpatient clinic had put on these monthly meetings where they would bring in a speaker or something. And I've often thought that, wow, it'd be kind of fun to talk about pet peeves. Originally, it was pet peeves. So I carried that idea with me. We've not, with COVID, they shut the clinic down for a little while, and then they stopped doing these in-person meetings. But that idea of laughing and pet peeves, because I'm constantly faced with yet another little thing. I'm MacGyvering every single day. There's something, you know, and just when you have just one free thing I'm using. Um, it's just funny. I'm always thinking, all right, the steps involved. And if someone could watch and see how I open a bottle of water, and you know, you think it's twist off, but it's got that little extra twist to it. And water goes everywhere. It's like, oh gee, you know. So it's just this constant thinking. And there's always, every day there's a new thing. And that's kind of the beauty of the recovery, is you live in life. So you're out there in the world and doing things, and you don't know kind of what you're going to encounter. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
actually had to have a complete stranger back up my car in a parking lot because somebody parked too close to me. And if you could have seen me trying to get into the car and thinking, can I get on the other side and climb over the console? No, that was a no. That was a hard no. But I kept thinking, all right, if I could just squish in, and I must have tried 20 different times to squeeze into this car. And I started to giggle because I'm thinking if someone were watching me, they would not know what the heck I was doing. But to have to flag down a complete stranger and say, "Can you back out my car?" I mean, it's funny. She and I giggled. She came right over and she was so gracious. And of course, and we giggled about maybe possible somebody driving away with my car. And I thought, well, my gosh, wouldn't that be hilarious? Filling the police report out. You gave her your keys. What? You let her get in the car. You let her get in the car. And, anyway, so you can find the humor really in anything.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what things did you do along the way that made you more self-sufficient?
I think even in therapy, I always asked, how do I do this myself? How can I do this myself? Whether it's a hand paddle, getting a hand paddle on, or a brace. My occupation, it was mostly my OT person, because that physical therapy came down to the things we could do during the session, but also go home and doing exercises. So she kind of, it was inevitable that I would say, can I do these exercises on my own? And that was pretty good. But the OT was always, how do I do this on my own? And if I couldn't do it on my own, it was kind of like, forget it. I mean, I have limited energy level, as you know, Marcia.
Mhm.
So part of it's the mental energy that goes into knowing and feeling satisfied with whatever you do. So if I couldn't do it myself, I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to learn it. I didn't want to do it. So that was always in the back of my head. Could I do it? It takes me longer to do anything, but if I
Right.
can get it done, I still feel pretty satisfied. But that took me a while. I am a perfectionist and used to, I mean, anything. I would take pride in the way I chopped vegetables and could get the cooking done and the shopping done so efficiently. So there was some big adjustments that I had to make in order to let go of the process, the perfect process, and just rely on the fact that I'm getting it done. And it wasn't until Thanksgiving, probably a few years ago, when I was making the stuffing and I was getting so aggravated with cutting up all the vegetables that I looked and I saw these bowlfuls of onions and carrots and celery, and they were completely chopped. All the pieces weren't uniform, but they were chopped. And I looked at it and said, I did that. But it took a long time to finally get there and let go of the perfectionism. I think that was the hardest, kind of one of the hardest pieces for me, was the perfectionism that I had to let go of. But it's getting it
Yeah.
done and being able to do it myself. That's always it still is first and foremost. And the hardest thing I
Interesting.
have to do, honestly, I've got a ponytail, but my husband has to do that. That is the one. I still joke with my OT. I like the one-handed ponytail. There are a couple contraptions out there, but they're not great. And she and I are trying to figure out how to invent something. So that's on the list of trying to invent something to do a perfect ponytail with one hand.
Interesting. So you could actually maybe make money off of something like that.
Potentially. I still haven't, I don't know. There's so much tension and angles, and there's so much physics involved in it, but who knows? Stay tuned. You never know.
Okay. So that's interesting. You also mentioned something a little before the show that you are doing Pilates.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Well, I ended my traditional PTOT sessions on an outpatient
Hmm.
basis at the end of 2021. I I needed to step back and not be so, obsessed and focused on it. Was great. It's great therapy, but when you get such small gains for such immense investment of time, physical, emotional, mental energy, I need to step away. So in stepping away, I realized I was going out for walks, but not as many, and I just wasn't moving around as much. I tried to do still my few exercises here and there, but they weren't they weren't fun. So for me, I wanted to quote unquote move more. And that was one of my 2022 New Year's goals, if you will. I had no idea what that meant, but I kind of just threw it out there. A friend of mine ends up working at a Pilates studio locally. They're actually a franchise. And she said, you know what? What about Pilates? And she planted the seed, and I kind of let it ruminate. And I thought, there's no way. And then I looked online, and sure enough, they have private sessions. They have individual coaches and trainers that you can work with. And I thought to myself, you know what? Let's try it. So she hooked me up with someone that she thought I would work really well with. We met the first time and we clicked right away. She's my age, and she's not a physical therapist, although she's worked in two hospitals locally doing Pilates and other training work. So she's familiar with the, medical, I'd say, side of things. And so she's also been really interested in the neuro piece of it, just something that's been mulling around in her head. So together, we've been able to kind of come up with a personal plan for me that gets me there twice a week for an hour. And it's been phenomenal to honestly see my body move in ways that I did not know with the assistance of springs and stuff. But it's been phenomenal. I've gotten stronger, a lot stronger. My core, it's all core work with, other things added into, because I love to see my leg move. So we concentrate on the left side. But she assists me with the right arm. I mean, excuse me, the left arm, which doesn't, operate so well. But I can see my body move and feel it. It's in my head, but it makes me feel invigorated, and I'm very happy, and I'm a lot stronger. I mean, I can stand at the counters longer to do more errands and do more things in the kitchen, even, cooking. I'm not as fatigued, having that core strength work a little bit stronger for me. So it's been phenomenal, and I would highly recommend it. Not everyone can do it, and I know every stroke is different. That's what everyone says, and every recovery is different. But this has been phenomenal. If you have even a little bit mobility, I think Pilates is really another option. So for me, I feel like it's my therapy, my physical therapy now.
So do you think there's any neuroplasticity involved in that? Because you said you feel your
Absolutely.
muscles move. Yeah. So do you want to talk about that?
Sure. The funniest thing was we tried to alternate sides. So she had me use my right arm with the left leg and my left arm with the right leg. As we were doing certain movements, I just started using both arms, and I said to her, I know you want to separate, or we're trying to separate because of the walking, the gait, how you swing your arm and stuff. But I said, my right arm wants to participate when my left arm's moving, and my left arm wants to participate when my right arm's moving. So I'm on the table doing like these snow angels, I call them these mat angels, but it was really cool. My body told me that. And once you start moving, it is incredible. Like, we'll be doing a certain exercise with my feet, and it's hard to explain, but they have this reformer thing that you're on this, it's on like a glider thing. But your feet are up, and my body will say, work on your arches now. So like it's participating, in a whole workout. And it's my body's given me that feedback. And I consider that the plasticity. It's kicking, things are kicking in, and the visualization of my body moving in a certain way helps me, move, communicate, and talk to her. And she loves it because she's like, that's great. She can even see the difference between things that she might want to make me do versus what I'm saying I need to do this. So it's almost like a dance, Marsha. It's become so fluid and natural, the two of us working together, that it's almost like a dance.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank
So
you. It's pretty
we
cool.
have about 6 minutes left. So
Okay.
let's talk about believe, and how you met Michael.
So Michael and I met at outpatient therapy, and,
Okay.
and we were on similar track. We had the same therapist, so we would see each other at least 2 times a week. And one of the things um, he had said to me, we talked about giving back. He was so grateful for where his recovery and his survival that
Mm-hmm.
he wanted to give back. And we share a faith. We both have a very strong faith, and the idea of give back was so strong for him that he asked me to be part of it. I'm doing just now. I'm on my own. I had such incredible care in my inpatient rehab that I'm now volunteering once a week to go in and talk to and meet other stroke patients while they're in rehab, while they're in their hospital bed. It's been incredible. But that desire came from somewhere else. It really, I mean, again, I have strong faith, but I got to tell you, I had to go through many, many, many channels in order to get this, we call it a peer support program in place for stroke, to do it the way I knew it needed to be done, or what I thought it needed to be done because of my own experience in the hospital. So it's been phenomenal. So the idea of give back has been something that's inside of me, inside of Michael. And he asked me to be on the board of Believe. And together we've been able to just work together to bring about hope. Because hope is rocket fuel for recovery, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And you hear a lot of negative stories about if you don't get better by this date. You and I talked about it right before the program started. It's just not true. It's just not true.
Yep.
The people that I meet, and these are people that are, you know, just in life, that have had, they're 20 years out from a stroke, getting things back. You know, they're living their lives. There's plenty of hope, you
Yep.
know, and it's just, I just, it's in me to say, no, you know, no, live your life, have fun. Yes, it looks different, but my gosh, there's so much hope, so much hope.
Yep. So
So
what is the question that I
that's
didn't
what,
ask you? Oh, go ahead.
no. I was going to say that's beliefs, you know, theory.
Yeah. So what is the one question I didn't ask you that people should know?
I'm glad you touched on it. There's always hope. There's always, always hope. And being still, you get so many answers, and just sitting still. Like, it was really hard. Again, that's something really hard for me. In addition to the perfectionism, is the moving around. I was always rushing to do things, rushing to finish things, rushing here, there, and getting thousands of things done during the day that made me feel good about what I was doing. I'm a mom, busy mom, traveling husband, running a house. But my goodness, I mean, just to have this time to sit back and say, what was I rushing? What am I rushing for? Why I'm missing so much? The quiet affirmations that come when you sit with yourself. And it's just amazing to just enjoy the quiet and the stillness. You get to engage with people more, you know, you talk to them, you look them in the eye, you know,
Yeah.
to not be afraid to get out there and just, there are kind people everywhere. I think a lot of fear. I lived with a lot of fear after the stroke, a fear of everything. Am I going to fall in public? You know, is there a bathroom nearby? You name it, you know, a lot of fear. And there's always a solution. And no, I've never really embarrassed myself. And it's just being human and letting other people be human with you. From little things like opening a door to literally having someone back out your car, that I shared with you in the beginning too.
I'm
I
still
mean,
laughing, kind of.
but anyway, there are people out there that want to help, and you know, it's just the little things. It's humbling, and that's probably the biggest thing is humble. I always thought I was humble until until you have a stroke, and you need help with everything, especially in the beginning. You need everything, going to the bathroom, everything, cutting your food up. My husband still has to cut my food up, but I've learned to ask when I go out, can they cut that up into bite-sized pieces? And it's always a yes. It's always a yes. So you figure it out, but don't stop, and don't stop laughing.
So how do people get in touch with you?
Well, our Believe organization, Believe SRF, which is Stroke Recovery Foundation.org. So and you can send an email to that email address, and the inquiry will always get to me directly.
Thank you for joining us, Moe. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.